Hello everybody, my name is Ghost Bunny and I'm going to be reading KinnPorsche. I'm going to be reading specifically the chapter 7. My regular disclaimers of always, which is that I'm not a native Thai speaker. I have no affiliations with neither Seven Seas or with I always forget their name. What they're called? Beyond Cloud. Yeah, I have no affiliations with Beyond Cloud or Seven Seas. I'm not a native Thai speaker. I am not a native English speaker. I am fluent, but not native, so sorry if I make any mistakes reading. And, oh yeah, this is not an audiobook, so, yeah. You can read it as an audiobook. You can read the book with me if you guys just don't want to read it alone. Pero, yeah. Also, I don't know if you realized, I changed my avatar for literally no reason. Okay, there is a reason. The reason is that I changed my art style. Because the other one I had was, like, the one I made like in the beginning of the year, and my art style kind of slightly has changed from that moment to now. So I don't know. Do you guys like this one or the other one more? I think I like this one more because, art change, yada yada yada. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna start reading, and yeah, let's just get started. I'm sorry, I wanted to be like giving a full intro or whatever, and my brain still doesn't work. So yeah, so let's begin. First day. Chapter 7. Well, Chapter 7, first day. I said it backwards. This one doesn't say which POV we're supposed to be on, but I'm going to assume that we're supposed to be in Porsche's POV because, well, the majority of this book has been in his POV. But yeah, just saying. Because it doesn't say at the beginning, at the top. Normally it says whose POV we're on, but this time it just didn't say whose POV we're on, so. But I think we are from where we left off, which is Porsche's POV. Okay, let's just start reading. I spent a considerable amount of time lamenting the tragic loss of my freedom before I finally approached the massive golden gate. The security guard checked my name in the log before directing me to the employee garage nestled along the perimeter of the property. I sighed wearily at the sight of all the men in sleek black suits scattered around the area. I began to contemplate the nature of Kin's family's business. Why did they need this small legion of bodyguards? It seemed to say the least, kind of, over the top. Being the only guard wearing a university uniform amidst a flock of black suits made me stick out like a sore thumb. I glanced at them and feigned disinterest. Feigning disinterest in their obvious hostility towards me. Strolled forward to the main building. Ah, you finally arrived. Pichan greeted me as I entered, balancing a set of documents in one hand and cradling a steaming mug of coffee on the other. He inclined his head, gesturing for me to follow him to the other room. I looked around cautiously, still adjusting to the unsettling atmosphere to this place. Come in. I followed him into what appeared to be a meeting room, complete with a meticulously. It seemed to be arranged. It seemed to be arranged of desks, chairs, and projectors. Okay. Yeah, let's go with that. Mind your manners with your superior, Pichan reminded me as he arranged some boxes on the desk. Hello, sir, I said, promptly putting my palms together and, slightly bowing. I know the reason why it's a Thai culture thing. I'm gonna read the little note they wrote here so that you guys can know what it is, in case you guys don't. According to the little note here, it says the act of putting your palms together in a prayer position and slightly bowing your head is called Y. The Y is commonly used in Thai culture to greet each other, especially when showing respect to elders and those in higher positions. I have forgotten how to act appropriately. I was never, I was nervous as hell, and I wasn't used to this kind of work environment. So, you got into a fight with Big yesterday? Pichan asked. Okay, but he initiated, I replied truthfully. Porsche, a truthful man. Try to keep your nose out of trouble, will you? Go with the flow, okay? Don't aggravate, Mr. Kinn. I frowned at Pichan's word. Was Kinn some sort of all-powerful, god, not to be provoked by mere mortals? Sit, the older man said when I didn't reply to him, gesturing at a chair with his hand. Here are your knives and firearms. Carry them with you, accompany Mr. Kinn. You don't know how to use you do know how to use a gun, right? I nodded. In my youth, I'd had, a fondness for toy guns. Shooting had eventually become my favorite pastime alongside judo. Good. Remember, you must keep Mr. Kinn safe at all costs. Oh wait, wrong person. Good. Remember, you must keep Mr. Kinn safe at all costs, Pichan said, sliding the black box containing the weapons towards me. Am I gonna end up in jail if I unintentionally kill someone? I asked bluntly. He just, handed me a gun like it was a piece of candy. I wanted to know if Kinn would shield me, from legal consequences if I killed someone for him. Everything this family does is above the law, Pichan replied. Did that mean Mr. Korn had, the cops in his pocket? Damn. That man was the real deal. Now I really wanted to know what they had, what he did for a living. Being, like him someday seemed like a worthy goal. Could you tell me who is exactly, I meant to protect Kinn from? I asked. Anyone who wishes to harm him. So, me? you hired the wrong guy then. Me? There are many individuals who pose a threat to Mr. Kinn. Those who owe money, his rivals, even his business partners. Pichan continued nonchalantly reading the document in his hand as he sipped his coffee, not slipped it. Pretend I also have a drink in my cup. I forgot to draw it. Oops. Just pretend I'm also drinking. So good. At this point, I found myself genuinely intrigued by Kinn's family. Why did they need such stringent security? Let's go with that. They didn't exactly appear to be good people, law-abiding citizens didn't intend to accumulate so many enemies with deadly agendas. Mr. Korn's family controls various businesses, such as casinos, money lendings, family trade, and port operations, Pichan explained, as if he had read my mind. How old is he? Is he 30? Check. What a know-it-all, I thought, then wondered if he could read that thought too. Stop staring at me. Pichan said, Mr. Kinn has returned from his university class. You should go to him. Reluctantly, I nodded and stood up, taking the case of weapons with me. Where's the dude's room anyway? I asked as I head out. I got a disapproving glare in response. Mr. Kinn is not your friend, Pichan said firmly. I rolled my eyes at his pedantic response. Pichan behaved as if Kinn was royalty and we his obedient servants. He had to worship the ground he walked on. Didn't they realize that King Rama fifth? Yeah, I'm bad with Roman numerals, sorry. But the V is 5, right? Yeah, let's go with that. But King Rama V abolished slavery in Thailand over a century ago. Wasn't this man aware of that? He should know. So, where do I need to go? I reiterated, careful not to mention Kinn this time. Second floor, last room on the left, and let me be clear, if you try to pull any tricks or even think about betraying him, the consequence is death. Oh, you promise? I know he was just trying to intimidate me, but I still felt a bit nervous. These people seemed to have no compassion. They had treated other people like mere pawns in a game. Pichan, in particular, was incredibly stoic, as if emotions were a foreign concept to him. I followed Pichan's directions, clutching the case of weapons in my hand. The other bodyguards shot me disapproving looks as I passed by, but I ignored them. I made my way to a room that felt oddly familiar. It's almost like I was here yesterday. A bodyguard sitting on a couch in front of Kinn's room glanced up at me as I came to a stop in front of him. "There you are. Mr. Kinn wants to see you," he said. I shot a sardonic expression at the 3 or 4. Damn. Porsche can't count. I can't read. But yeah. I shot a sardonic expression at the 3 or 4 men stationed outside Kinn's room, finding their presence somewhat excessive. Hell, this place was as bustling as a busy like. Notes here, it says like is a type of Thai folk drama and performance arts equivalent to musicals or operas. Like I'm gonna say like tropes usually set up a temporary stage to perform it. So basically, he's like, this is as full or like as busy as if it were like, an opera or musical type stuff. Like it was like a stage. But yeah. Something about it was hilarious to me. I had a feeling that things were about to get interesting. As I reached for the doorknob, the same bodyguard abruptly warned me. "No weapons are allowed in Mr. Kinn's room." I wearily rolled my eyes, wondering if anyone else found these rules absurd. "All right, I'll go put it away," I said, retreating from the door, planning to place the case in my room. However, he stopped me. "Hold on. Leave it outside. Don't keep Mr. Kinn waiting." Sighing heavily, I placed the box on the floor beside the door and stepped into Kinn's room. I paused, observing the people inside. My presence seemed to have caused an abrupt halt to their animated conversation. Sorry again. "Don't you know how to knock?" The voice was one I recognized well. His expression shifted from joyful to sullen in an instant. I felt it odd to see Kinn in his university uniform. I was so used to the all-black attire that made it seem like he was constantly in mourning. So, like, seeing with a white shirt was just weird. So weird. Knock, knock. I knocked on the door twice in an attempt to get under his skin. "Oh, look, now I know," I said. I looked at the other men in the room. They wore the same university uniform, so I figured these people might be Kinn's friends. And then I started laughing because, like, what the fuck, he has friends? "Who the heck is this?" one of them asked. "Oh, he's my new bodyguard," he replied casually, his face fixed on me. "What?" I asked, crossing my arm over my chest and glaring at him in disregard. "You sure he's your bodyguard and not your dad?" his friend asked with a snicker. This seemed to make Kinn frown even harder. Also, what's with us and dads? This was written by somebody who has daddy issues or what? Like, damn. "Get us some refreshments," he said. Kinn's sudden order left me dumbfounded. I stared at him with a blank expression, not quite comprehending his request. "Refreshments? What refreshment?" I asked. Oh, he looks confused. One of his friends whispered, very loudly, enough for me to hear. "My dude, whispering like this doesn't count as whispering. This is not whispering." That's just normal speech at that point. Look, sweetie, Porsche, fetch me some refreshments. Just go downstairs, okay?" Kinn repeated, his tone growing more authoritative. I frowned at him. Why did I have to bring his own refreshments? Like I wasn't his servant. "You're aware I'm not your butler, right?" I blurted out, earning surprised looks from his friends. Damn. This one has a spine, one friend exclaimed. "Porsche! What did I tell you?" Kinn yelled. Everyone jumped at his raised voice, except for me. I took a deep breath, trying to push down my anger. "Go downstairs and bring me some refreshments," Kinn ordered again. "If you want something, go get it yourself," I replied, cold as ice. "Porsche!" Kinn sprung from the sofa and reached me in an instant. His hand violently seized my arm, yanking me forward before I could fight back. He the intensity of the grip conveyed his seething fury. Are you trying to challenge my authority? Kinn growled through clenched teeth, his gaze turning as lethally through clenched teeth, his gaze turning as lethally sharp as it had the other day. I firmly shoved at his chest, and he released his hold on me. Fine, I huffed, stomping out the room with a scowl. Had anyone ever dared to stand up to Mr. Kinn, or was he completely spoiled rotten? I wanted to see someone confront him head on. And how was I supposed to figure out where to get Kinn his snacks? I had no idea where the kitchen was. This colossal house might as well be a palace. Makes sense why they have royalty princess treatment. Now you know. The bodyguards I passed were not exactly the friendly and helpful type. Their expressions were constantly sour and sullen. Every time my eyes met theirs, they shot back with murderous glares. As I descended the stairs, I spun halfway around, pointedly searching for the kitchen and thinking about where I should be headed. Looking for something? A man in a black suit asked, his voice neutral. Yeah, a kitchen, I replied. Head that way and take a left, he said, indicating the direction with a wave of his hand. I walked away without looking back to gauge his reaction, my irritation reaching boiling point. The kitchen was exactly where he said it was. Four maids, mild, about until one of them noticed me. How may I help you, mister? She asked. I took a deep breath, making an effort to temper my frustration, before replying politely. Some refreshments, please? This woman was much older than me, and I needed to speak with respect. I didn't want to offend her. The elderly woman looked at me from head to toe and said, Are you a friend of Mr. Kinn? Or of Mr. Kim? Her words were polite, and she had an amiable smile on her face. Nah, I'm not, guys. I mean, I corrected myself quickly. I'm Mr. Kinn's new bodyguard. The maid gave me another quick once-over. Oh, Mr. Kinn's new bodyguard, she asked, her voice curious. Why haven't you changed into your suit? I sighed. I'm just here to fetch his refreshments, ma'am. I repeated my request, intentionally deflecting her question. All right. Give me a moment. Are Mr. Kinn's friends here too? I nodded. She returned to hand me a tray loaded with snacks and tea. By the way, this place is for Mr. Tay. Tell him I made it specially for him. Oh wait, I'm soup. All right. By the way, this plate, not this place. By the way, this plate is for Mr. Tay. Tell him I made it specially for him, she said. I rolled my eyes, wondering why she wasn't the one bringing the stuff upstairs in the first place. I cursed myself as I carried the hefty tray back to Mr. Kinn. Back to Kinn's dumbass. And contemplated spitting in his tea. I wanted to get back at him for being an arrogant bastard, but I could only amuse myself with the thought. With this many bodyguards patrolling the area, my actions would absolutely be noticed. They would have immediately shot me in the gut. He'd been like in top of the teacup. The guy. Hands where I can see them. Get that saliva away from that cup. Can you open the door? I asked the men sitting in front of Kinn's room when I returned, hoping they would help me get inside, their boss's room. Everyone seemed to deliberately ignore me and kept reading their magazine. Hopefully they're not reading any raunchy stuff. Watch them be reading like some hentai perverts. Hey! I called out again. Still no response. Fine! I bent down to put the tray on the floor so I could open the door, but one of them yelled, What are you doing? Opening the door, I said sardonically. Yeah, words. You can't put Mr. Kinn's food on the floor. Sheesh! Was Kinn's royalty or something? I planned on putting his food on the floor, and I would have nudged the tray around with my shoe, too. I straightened myself up with the tray in hand as one of Kinn's men grumbled, rapping on the door and seeing me in. Is that correct wording? Rapping? Like was he like beatboxing? Yeah, door. I don't know how to rap. Whatever, he opened the door. I turned myself up to try. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I saw Kinn and his gang engrossed in a discussion about a school report and decided to step right into the circle. I carelessly dropped the tray on the table, the clatter of it echoing through the room. The tea inside the cup sloshed slightly. Kinn's friends rapidly withdrew their papers from the impending mess and quickly reached for some tissues. All eyes on me in disbelief. Shit! Did I get on your report? Oh wait, sorry, wrong part. Shit, did I get on your report? A member of Kinn's clique. The clique. Inquired. I scoffed. How would the report get dirty when the mess was only on the tray? Porsche! Kinn hissed, his voice low, his eyes flashed with anger. I looked at him out of the corner of my eye, trying to play it cool. Come on. Just let it slide. Oh wait, wrong person. Again! Come on, just let it slide. His other friend interjected, guiding Kinn back into his seat, with a firm push on his shoulder. A faint smirk played on my lips as I saw Kinn close his eyes, obviously trying to suppress his anger. Oh, his rising anger. I started to exit the room, figuring my task was completed, when Kinn's voice stopped me. Who said you could leave? I turned around to glare at him. Okay, what now? I grumbled. I want coffee, he demanded. I sighed for what seemed like a millionth time this day, wondering why he hadn't just asked before and spared me the multiple trips. I turned around again, intending to go fetch his coffee from the kitchen upstairs. Where do you think you're going? Didn't you hear what I said? I heard you loud and clear, I replied, turning to face him. I was on my way to fetch you that coffee for you, Your Highness. The coffee machine's over there, he said, gesturing toward the corner of the room where a fancy machine sat next to some coffee mugs. For f***'s sake! This rich bastard had his own personal coffee machine. It seemed like this family knew no hardship. They were surrounded by amenities that catered to their every whim. I headed towards the counter, staring blankly at the modern machine with its myriad of buttons, utterly clueless about how to use the damn contraption. I want a hot Americano, Kinn said blandly. Bitch, you're getting a black coffee and nothing else. Damn it. How could I make an Americano when I didn't even know what the fuck that was? How to turn this thing on? Wait. Maybe look for the on-off button. Wanting coffee in the evening? What a pain, I muttered under my breath as I fiddled with the on-off button and start switches on the machine. I sat there awkwardly with no sign of any coffee appearing, wondering if I needed to press more buttons. I pushed my finger on the red button labeled hot. Still nothing. I tried another button with a coffee mug symbol, which also yielded no results. Perhaps this machine was like a kettle and you needed to wait for the water to boil before pouring it over coffee grounds. I stared at the machine for a while, assuming it was in the process of boiling water. Contrary to its high-tech appearance, the machine turned out to be nothing more than an electric kettle. In the meantime, I took a moment to survey the room. The interior design mirrored the elegance of the room. The interior design mirrored the elegance of the rest of the room. The color scheme was predominantly brown. A chandelier hung overhead. There was a sizable work desk, a bookshelf against the wall, and a black sofa in the middle of the room. A centerpiece displayed a bundle of lengthy dried twigs, which looked rather lifeless and stupid, almost like the toner. I didn't say that, you did. There was another room attached to this one, roughly the size of a small office. It had a glass door, but the view was obstructed by black curtains. I couldn't figure out the purpose of the room, but the curtains suggested it wasn't a bathroom. A bedroom, maybe? My lips twisted into a sneer, and I felt a pang of jealousy at this family's lavish wealth. Ken's room was well furnished, resembling some kind of lavish condo suite. However, the decor had a mature, dull vibe, much like its owner. I knew he was gonna say that. Am I Porsche? You've never seen us in the same room. Could be. We're one and the same. Anyone smell something burning? Someone blurted out. Yeah, it's like the smell of burnt metal. I can smell it too. I realized. I looked at the direction while searching for the source of the the odor. Was someone trying to torch this place? They had so many enemies that it seemed plausible. Push! Ken shouted, rushing towards me in alarm. What? The fake damage machine is on fire! I shifted my attention back to the device as a plume of black smoke erupted from it. I'd assumed it was steam from boiling water. I stared with my jaw dropped in shock. At a loss for what to do. A spark flashed near the back of the machine. I was so screwed. Damn it! Quit standing around. Shut off the power! Ken barked at me. He darted out the room to inform the bodyguard to turn off the main switch of the breaker box. Where was the off switch? The smoke was so thick I couldn't see a damn thing. Where the hell is the switch? I frantically searched for the power switch while trying to wave away the smoke in front of me. Ken's 3 friends were in similar states of panic, running around and shouting chaotically. Time! Check on them! Ken screamed. And you! Have you found the switch yet? Fucking hell, can't you see I'm as freaked out as you are. The smoke made me cough so violently that I was afraid I might choke to death. I couldn't see which part of the machine was on fire. I didn't notice what was making the machine smoke so much. Where's the goddamn switch? I yelled back at him. Shit, watch out! Ken shouted. Boom! I heard Ken yell before the explosion erupted. I was forcefully pushed to the ground, shielded by Ken's body. Then the electricity in the entire house went out. Mr. Ken, are you hurt? One of the bodyguards asked, rushing inside. The breaker has been shut off, another man reported. A look of relief washed over Ken's face. He allowed a bodyguard to help him up and guide him to the sofa. I remained where I was, sitting up on the floor. I was still processing. I was so processing what had happened. It had all been so sudden that I was caught totally off guard, unable to react. Ken, are you all right? His friend asked when they returned, accompanied by more bodyguards who proceeded to open all windows and doors in the room to air out the smoke. Don't you just sit there like idiots? Like an idiot? We could use a hand, someone angrily shouted at me. I huffed. Can't you see that I'm in shock? Nevertheless, I stood up and went to help clear the smoke while the other men unplugged the malfunctioning machine and took it away. This wasn't my fault. Ken was the one who ordered me to make that damn coffee in the first place. After everything settled down, Ken called me over. He glared at me, his eyes burning with lethal fury. His friends had left, leaving only me and a line of bodyguards behind me. Were you trying to burn my house down? Ken asked, his voice just as sharp as his gaze. I didn't mean to, I replied sincere. We're lucky this place has an emergency shut-off system, otherwise it would have burned to the ground. One of the pissed off sorry. Yeah. Pretend that was also Ken, okay? Fuck off. Ken being angry at me was enough. Why did this guy have to butt in? Are you blind? Couldn't you see there was no water in the machine? Ken badgered me, so glaring daggers. I didn't know. I don't know how to use that thing. Like, I'm sorry. Like, legitimately, this is... I, no, I don't know what I'm doing actually. It turned out that pressing the hot button with no water in the machine caused the heating coil in the back panel to overheat and explode. Porsche, you're the type of person who makes ramen in the microwave with no water. Huh? I can see you doing that. Hmm. Why didn't you say something? He pressed. I rolled my eyes. I hadn't said anything because I assumed it operated like any other kettle. I maintained a blank stare, unwilling to argue any further. Why did my first day have to turn out like this? So daring? So draining? You should have asked! Don't be a smartass when you don't know shit, Ken cursed. Okay, screw you! I'm here to be your bodyguard, not your butler. If you want someone to make you coffee, hire a barista next time. I snapped, no longer able to hold back. My hands rested lightly on my waist as I glared defiantly at him. Porsche! Ken yelled, snapping his fist at the glass tabletop with a loud clang, and making all the bodyguards in the background flinch in fear. He pointed at me threateningly. I've made it clear who I am and who you are. Know your place, and don't ever cross me again. I continued to stare at him without voicing any response. This is your final warning. If you fuck with me again, there will be consequences. I glanced at him disdainfully at this arrogant command, earning a scold in return. Knock, knock. We were interrupted by a knock at the door and the arrival of one of Ken's bodyguard. Mr. Pym is here, by the way, the bodyguard announced, stepping aside to reveal a beautiful man, damn, in his 20s. Ooh. The man smiled pleasantly at Ken before sitting by his side. It seemed like Ken had a lot of friends over. Yeah, wait, what? I'm still surprised he has friends, by the way. All of you can leave. About time. I'd wanted to get out of here ages ago. I spun around and made a beeline for the door before the other bodyguards even had a chance to react. Sadly, I stopped short when Ken suddenly called me. Porsche, not you, wait. You said we can leave. Oh, what's the matter with this guy? Come on. Oh, they can leave, but not me. This is active discrimination against me. Like, come on. Look, this is Porsche specific types of discrimination. I'm not here to take it. Come. Give him the key. Ken told the guy. I assumed that guy was calm, because who else would he be? Before turning back to me. You know how to drive, right? You know how to drive, right? No. I nodded scornfully at him. Take Mr. Pym back to his house at 2 a.m., Ken continued. You're dismissed for now. Sort of left me with a bunch of questions. Why me? And why at 2 in the morning? He should just stay overnight if he was planning on being here that late. Calm handed me a key fob engraved with the logo of a luxury car brand. Where to? I asked, not knowing where I had to take Mr. Pym later on. Ken looked like he was fed up with me, but he showed me the address on his phone. Okay, I said, handing the phone back to Ken and leaving without looking back. I noticed that Ken's bodyguards were not eager to converse with me. Perhaps it was because I had kicked their superior's ass yesterday. To think about it, I hadn't seen that guy. I hadn't seen that guy all day. Wait a minute. Where's Big? Where's my favorite boy? I miss you. Don't go where I can follow, King. Did I really knock his lights out? With no other plan in mind, I strolled down a dimly lit walkway, hoping to find a spot to smoke. I recalled seeing the other bodyguard smoking near a garden well when I first arrived here in the evening, so that became my destination. Hey, a man puffing on a cigarette greeted me. I recognized him as the guy who gave me directions to the kitchen earlier. I gave him a small nod and I retrieved a pack of cigarettes from my back pocket. I pulled one out, lit it up, and smoked in silence. First in a job? He asked with a smile. It was probably the first smile I got in this house, but I wasn't hostile. Marry me. Mm-hmm. I answered him with a hum. My name is Pete, by the way. Oh, I'm Porsche. Cool name. But why the long face? He asked, lighting up another cigarette as he kept the conversation going. I'm tired, I answered truthfully. How come? I heard you're Mr. Kinn's bodyguard. Your job should be easy, he said, blowing out a puff of smoke. Easy my ass. And it's a big fat one. I hadn't had time for a breather since I arrived, and it was already midnight. What do you mean by easy? I asked him to elaborate. Mr. Keen seems keen. Mr. Kinn seems strict, but he's the easiest one to work for, Pete said with a smile. Are you shitting me? I muttered, looking at Pete suspiciously. Don't look at me like that. Trust me, you're lucky, he insisted. And who do you work for? I asked. I'm under Mr. Tankun, Pete said, letting out a heavy sigh. I recall Mr. Damn it, I can't. I recall Mr. Jesus Christ, why do I keep skipping the word meeting? I recall meeting Mr. Tankun yesterday, and he seemed like a friendly guy. Why the long face? I fired Pete's question right back at him. The three sons in this family are all polar opposites, especially Mr. Tankun. He's very demanding. His mood is so unpredictable that I've got a constant migraine working under him, but he's still better than Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim? Who? I don't know these people. I just started working here today. I just told you that. Don't quiz me. Mr. Kim? Boss Corn's youngest son? Well, it's not surprising you. Oh wait, I'm the wrong person. Mr. Kim, Boss Corn's youngest son. Well, it's not surprising you don't know if it's only your first day, and Mr. Kim is hardly ever home. He's like a missing person, Pete said with a hint of humor. What do you mean? Mr. Kim has traumatized everyone. He doesn't like being followed by bodyguards, and he doesn't like coming home. He constantly manipulates his bodyguards and stirs up trouble, Pete explained. Peanut is exhausted from looking after Mr. Kim, and Peanut is the one Peanut is the one Boss Corn holds responsible when something goes wrong with his youngest son. Oh, Peanut is Mr. Kim's head bodyguard, by the way. Ah, so many names to remember. How did you guys do that? Meeting Pete felt good. Though, it was nice getting to know him. He felt like a friend. It was like hanging out with, Tim and John. At least my life, here wouldn't be too depressing. I got him. He seems cool. Mr. Kinn is the most reasonable of the three. Everyone wants to work for him. I scoffed immediately at Pete's word. Kinn? Reasonable? It was more likely a buffalo could give birth to a dog. I don't believe it, I said. Anyways, why aren't you wearing a suit? Pete asked, eyeing my attire. I'm too lazy to change, I replied dismissively, not wanting to explain myself further. See? If I were that in front of Mr. Tankun, he'd scream my ears off. Zzz. A buzzing sound came out of nowhere. Pete sighed audibly and picked up his walkie-talkie. Just like this, he said. Hey Pete, where the hell are you? A voice came from the two-way radio. Come up here at this instant. Pete stopped out his cigarette on the ground, looking exhausted. You got a radio? Yeah. Mr. Tankun gave one to all his bodyguards, and he's been calling us all day. Anyway, I gotta go watch a TV show with him now. I started to speak, but Pete ran off into the house before I could, ask what he meant by watch a TV show. At least I'd met one friendly person in this place, even though we worked for different bosses. He appeared to be around my age, too, and that was somewhat comforting. It occurred to me that I'd forgotten to ask Pete what the bathroom was. Where the bathroom was, not what it was. This place was massive. I needed to take a leak, and I didn't want to go all the way back to, the one in my room. Porsche, Mr. Kinn wants to see you, one of Kinn's bodyguards said, his expression souring when he found me. I felt irritated that this bastard kept summoning me. I also needed to pee real bad. Damn it. I was in a jam. Going back to my room would take too much time, and the bodyguard who came to get me didn't wait around for me to ask where the toilet was. I scanned my surroundings, desperately hoping to spot a restroom. I hadn't used one since I arrived here earlier in the evening. Nobody had paid me any attention. There was no orientation, and no one cared enough to show me where things were. I was left with no other choice. I didn't want to show up late and get another reprimand from Kin. I had to make do with the last option available. I opened the wall. I approached the wall. I approached the wall on the far side of the garden. It was pretty dark it, it was pretty dark with plenty of trees shielding the view. There was a murky pond, and I assumed was part of a septic system. The situation was urgent. After all, a man didn't really care where he went. Where he pissed. And this spot was right on the border of the property. It shouldn't bother anyone, right? I pulled on my pants, relieved myself as quickly as I could, and hastily ran back into the house. One of the guards stopped me as I was about to push the door open. You don't need to go in. I turned around, finding him holding out a pile of papers. What? You have to arrange these according to the table of contents. Then check Mr. Kinn's class schedule. If there are any papers on this desk, it's your duty to identify each document accordingly. These are crucial details that you need to stay on the loop of, he said. Additionally, you need to ensure that this work is accurate and organized. You need to be prepared to jot down notes for him when he attends to business matters. I took the paper from him with a shocked expression. What do I have to do? Wait, why do I have to do it? You wanted to be his head bodyguard, didn't you? It's your responsibility, he said, lowering himself onto the sofa. I looked at the paper in my hand with disdain. Since I got here, I hadn't done a single thing I'd expect, I would be doing. My tasks were meanly and borderline stupid. I took a seat on the sofa opposite to him. There was already a man occupying it, but the moment my ass touched the seat, he abruptly stood up and walked away. Jerk. One day, I'd make them pay. All of them. Each and every one of them. These papers appeared to be Kinn's homework. Damn. That guy went to the same university as me, but he was part of the international program of the business school, and all the text in his reports was in English. Damn. How did he expect me to read it? The same way he expects me to read his book. I knew I was a brute with no book smarts. I knew I was a brute with no book smarts, and I got accepted into the university by sheer luck. I usually relied on 10 to complete our class reports. I hope Kinn wouldn't blame me if I screwed up his papers. Wishful thinking. Also, he should have just hired Tim. Tim, I miss you, baby. Where are you? 2 a.m. I kept rearranging Kinn's reports until it was time to give his friend a ride home. I didn't know if there were housing or what in Kinn's room, but Mr. Peem looked utterly exhausted. As soon as Mr. Peem settled into the back seat, he rested his head against the window. He looked like he could doze off at any moment, though I couldn't get a good look. I thought I saw a bruise on Mr. Peem's neck and arm. I couldn't really recall whether they had been there before and I just hadn't noticed. Or perhaps he annoyed Kinn and Kinn, did normal Kinn shit like lashing out at him like he did with me. Regardless, it was none of my business. Just let me off here, Mr. Peem said, getting out of the car as soon as I stopped at the designated location. Now that my task was complete, I had the urge to drive around town for a while. I didn't want to go back to the hellhole. However, I could only fantasize about it. I had no idea if there was a GPS tracker in this car, and I didn't want to listen to a lecture from Kinn if he found out I'd, taken a joyride. It pissed me off. I returned to the same old sofa outside Kinn's room, noticing that some of his men were either falling asleep there or playing games on their phone. Kinn was probably asleep as he was nowhere in sight. I felt a bit sweaty, and I figured I could use a shower. I waited anxiously for morning to come so I could change out of these clothes. I was beginning to feel exhausted. I, I was beginning to feel exhaustion creep in. However, I resisted. I resisted the urge to rest, preferring to wait until I was home before I relaxed. I kind of let my guard down here in case these guys decided to jump me. The night seemed to drag on longer and longer, and I just wanted to end it. Throughout the night, I altered between sitting down and pacing until finally morning arrived. I didn't wait for anyone to tell me my shift was over, just hurried to my room to stow away my weapons and take a shower. Then I headed straight to the garden, and I would have run straight home if I hadn't been interrupted by a loud commotion. Who pissed in my koi pond? An ear-splitting scream piercing the air, prompting everyone to turn to the source of the outcry. Then another anguished wail followed. No! Elizabeth! Sebastian! Wake up! Wake up! I saw a group of bodyguards frantically hurry to the source of the scream. In the midst of all the chaos, I spotted a familiar face and grabbed his arm before he could pass me by. It was Pete. What the hell is happening? I asked him. Some jackoff pissed in Mr. Duncan's koi pond. All the fish are dead. Fuck. What a headache. First thing in the morning, too. Pete cursed vehemently and dashed off. I swallowed thickly. A chill ran down my spine. I definitely mounted my motorcycle and sped away from the scene. I was screwed. And well, that is all for today. Yay! If you guys been liking my readings, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, also if you guys have, is this the first video or whatever? I have a playlist. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I have a playlist. If you guys want to hear the first chapters, yeah, let's go with that. But yeah, I also started reading Heaven of Blessing, and I also made a playlist for that one too. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying the readings, and I'm still bad at making outros. But other than that, bye.